Welcome to my instructional video on how I use the OKKI NOKKI record cleaning system. First of all, to all of you that are audiophile purists and the alike, by all means, this may not be the absolute correct way, but it's working for me really well. And if anything, it's just an instructional guide for those of you who may be using some of the products I'm using, whether it might be the Melody Mate cleaning fluid, whether it be the actual OKKI NOKKI cleaner itself, or just some good ways that I like to go about it to minimize the static, which as most of you would know, and this is more for the intermediate users, that we are trying to eliminate when we're listening to our records. We want them to sound clean and lovely, and we want to fall in love with the wonderful music again, and not so much of the static that most of us were brought up hearing because our parents may not have been able to afford the latest and greatest in hi-fi equipment. In my case, I've managed to pick up some absolute zingers of hi-fi equipment that I'm looking forward to putting some videos to shortly. And as a result, really re-enjoying all that music again that I love, including all the new stuff. For those of you that don't know, I do DJ on a regular basis. And as a result, of course, it's much easier to carry a hard drive full of songs on my notebook than it is indeed to carry crates and crates of vinyl. But nothing gives me quite the thrill of spinning records. And as a result, I'd like to share with you what I need to do to prepare my records. As a result, I just wanted to start first of all by saying, most importantly, you've got to get comfortable doing this. It does take time. For every 10 or 20 records that I would do, by all means, it's going to take some time. And as a result, 10 or 20 records in my time equates to about a 24-hour period for me to get them done. As a result, I'll often do some, go off, let them dry, flip them around, do the other side a little later on, let them dry again, and we commence. Now, most importantly, since I got my OKKI NOKKI machine, the process is to do my records once and go from there. Most people will say you won't need to wet clean them again for at least 50 plays. I can tell you right now, there are some records that may only get played once, and I don't think they'll even anywhere get near to a 50th play before the day I die. But the point is, I've spent good money on a good stylus. I'd like to keep it that way. And as a result, this is what I'm going to do. So as a result, by all means, you're going to acquire more records. You may well indeed buy new records. And by all means, if I went to the shop before Christmas, I might find a few nice ones I like, pick them up, 2 or 3, and popping them on this cleaner really isn't a big deal at all. However, because I've got to go through a process of doing so many, from the get-go, knowing that I'm going to go through about 500 at the moment, the best thing to do is to get myself comfortable. So the first thing is I've created a room that's as dust-free as I can make it for the most part. We do have 3 wonderful little King Charles Cavalier dogs, and of course they get long fur and things can get furry. So by all means, they're not coming anywhere near this room. And also from that, you'll notice that I've set my OKKI NOKKI and what I'm doing here at a nice height for me. I'm a tall person, so this comes up around my waist. It's a nice bench to work on. I've got a bit of a production line in happening, and as a result, I can just follow it through quite smoothly and go through as required. Snake oil or not, these negative ion generators can be picked up for literally a couple of dollars. And cost peanuts to run. And at the end of the day, unlike spending lots of money on your zilty anti-static gun, which we all seem to have, which are wonderful, having this thing running while you're doing the process is wonderful for eliminating excess static that's usually building up on your shirts, or in my case, as I'm unpacking a lot of new records that have been shrink wrapped, as I'm sliding it all off, I have noticed considerably there has been quite a bit of a difference in the room. Things aren't sticky and clingy. At the end of the day, I really don't think this can hurt. You don't need a big fancy one. I find this little gadget I picked up for about $20 on eBay pretty useful. Now, if it does or doesn't do anything, I've got to be honest, I think it's quite useful. Can't go wrong at that price. Now, I don't mind admitting, this one well may be some real snake oil to be seen. I came up with this idea a little while ago when I was trying to get a bit of a better FM signal on my stereo, and I thought, well, I couldn't really go too wrong with this. I must admit, I did notice a difference. Even when I started wet cleaning the records, when I was putting them back on this little copper-based stand that I had, I would notice every now and then that if I was trying to do a few too many records at once and slip them together, they'd try and attract to each other, and you could hear that drastic sort of staticky sound that they want to sort of stick together. And I thought, well, how could I go wrong with popping down to the hardware store and popping a length of copper cable and wiring it to the ground-only stake of the power point? By all means, get an electrician. Don't go around and fiddle around with plugs if you don't know what you're doing. At the end of the day, I did just give you a couple of close-up pictures here that show you the fact that I actually have not touched the active or neutral circuit in any way. They are by all means not done. In fact, I even did a plug for the FM one where those actual pins were removed completely. However, again, that can still be a danger because some people might well twist it around the wrong way and plug it the wrong way around, and it could go badly. So at the end of the day, I'm not advising this. You may have another way of a grounding option in your premises. What I am saying though is I cannot see how this can possibly hurt at all. Comments by all means welcome at the bottom. Call me a Fruit Loop if you like, I don't mind. But looks like a kind of groovy little idea I got going on here. So I'm going to stick with it anyway. Right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to clean all my new records first, and then I'll follow with the used and second-hand ones accordingly. So we have a crate full of some brand new ones in the shrink wrap here. And what we would like to do is during the manufacturing process, you'll be surprised how much debris and dirt and gunk can be on them. So we want to give them a good clean before they're going to touch the turntable. As a result, I've got a few on the hop at the moment here, and what we're going to do is we're going to pop them into a brand new anti-static sleeve as well, and into a new plastic outer cover. And here are some that are going through the process. The records are just being cleaned there, Rage Against the Machine, and a few other zingers. I see the Kinks there as well. And also here are some in the final product that have been done. I just got the Led Zeppelin collection happening there. Oh, Creedence, a bit of Nirvana. And as you can see here, what happens is what we do is I've got the record in there. I'll show you a bit later on. But the whole idea is that I don't put the record back into the sleeve. I'm trying to preserve that. Obviously, the glue they use on them is pretty delicate, and we don't want to wear it out. We can just store it behind it. Again, these are records I want to play. These aren't collection type of records. So the whole idea is to make it simple and easy. So we can see a few crates here. Now, by all means, here are the original sleeves, some Euro-styled ones. They call these ones with a little cut there. These are all the original ones. Now, I'm not going to throw these out. I'm going to keep these, but I don't want the records going back in them. I don't want them to get scratched up. Some of these are pretty ordinary condition. So what we're going to, and these are brand new, don't get me wrong, but I don't want them. They're going to go into those nice MoFi sleeves. I'm very happy with those. And then we store them accordingly. So I've got a few crates and we're ready to get into business at the moment. But getting all the new ones done first, and by all means we'll proceed to the older ones. The equipment that I'm using to do the cleans, of course, once I've taken all the shrink wrap off and it's all been done and the new record's ready, is I slap the record down onto my OKKI NOKKI. We're going to do, just with a standard carbon brush, we're just going to clean it. Then we'll do the wet using, very happy with this Melody Mate liquid cleaning product. So we blob some of that on. We use the goat hair brush that came with the OKKI NOKKI to spread it in and give it a good clean. Run the vacuum through the pump there. Once it's done, I then just sit them here to let them dry accordingly before I do the next side. So as a result, I'll do the first side, I'll let them dry for a minimum 4 hours, and I'll come back, slap the second side on, and done. And when they're all been done, we'll repack them into a new sleeve and off we go. As I said, I'm doing side B's at the moment. I've done all side A. And as you can see here, I'm now working backwards. So I've done all side A. I think I started with Oasis today. Worked back through others. Rage Against the Machine, Pearl Jam. I think the Prodigy's in this bunch as well. And now I'm starting on the reverse side, on the side 2s, working my way back. I'll let them dry into sleeves and pack them up tomorrow. And then start working on the next set. Again, this is a new record that just came out of the shrink wrap, and you can certainly see there are, it is quite grotty at the end of the day. I'm quite surprised with a lot of them. I understand that when they come off and the lathe goes around and cuts it, there's quite a lot of waste that goes across it. I really would recommend cleaning any brand new record before it's going to touch the system, especially those of you that use moving coil cartridges and are spending upwards of thousands of dollars. The stylus I use in Australia is costing me about $1,800. I quite like it, and I'd like to preserve it, keep it smooth and running the way it should. So a nice clean record should give me plenty of life out of it. Right, so now we've got a dry brush going here, so we run it in one direction here. Now, it might look like it's not completely on. I've had it on for a bit here, but what I'm trying to point out here is you can see I'm dragging the brush off in the first direction to the outside, and if you look closely, there's a lot of little white particles, dead skin cells, and all other sorts of bits and pieces there that are probably me anyway. That being said though, I then pop the OKKI NOKKI into the other direction now, pop the brush back on, push it along, this time sweeping the brush into the middle of the record, generally letting it just touch to the middle to earth it. It's an aluminium frame, I doubt it does anything. I saw someone else doing it, seemed like a good idea. Now we commence our liquid clean. I'm using this Melody Mate premium vinyl record cleaning solution. Now it's already pre-mixed. You don't have to worry about chemical formulas or anything like that. You'll see I just splash a few drops onto the actual surface of the turntable. Of course, once you've done a few, the goat hair brush I use is already holding some in it. So you start to use less and less drops as you go along. So as we go along, we're in any one direction at any point in time here. And what I like to do is get it nice and close. I do like to try and get it running into the end groove, because at the end of the day, there's no point cleaning 99% of a record and then the stylus collects and dusts it at the end. So I do it. Now with the goat hair brush, I find often I'll need to let it do a full pass close to the inside and a full pass to the outside, because the brush doesn't quite make it. I also like to hold the brush quite deeply as well. You can really feel a bit of vibration, someone's coming through as though it's getting deep and digging stuff out. I'm sure that's not the case, but it's a very satisfying feel as you go along. You'll know you've got the pressure right, and you want to keep it straight and keep it just grinding that nasty stuff out at the moment. I never get sick of this part. Swing the vacuum cleaner arm around, fire up the vacuum cleaner and plop it down. It'll grab onto the record, 2 to 3 rotations, and you'll have a beautiful clean record. Now this is a double album, so as a result, we'll do the second record now. Enjoy the sound. Now that that symphony of a vacuum cleaner is done, you've just simply got to pop the records in and let them dry. 4 hours minimum I'd recommend before flipping over and doing the next side. So as you can see, I have a bunch of records now just waiting to dry. I'm going to leave overnight. I like to leave them overnight with something just covering it to keep any excess dust off. Just pop something over my OKKI NOKKI as well. You can get a hard covered lid to keep that one nice and dry by all means. As a result, I've got the records here. As a result, for example, if we just have a look at this one here, what we've done, we've put it in, it's a double one, and we'll put one of these original master sleeves in, the MoFi ones. We'll put the records loaded into that, slide them in, and generally what I like to do as a result, because I want to play the records and it doesn't take long to look them up on Discogs or however you're keeping them, is just come across one of your records accordingly. And what I'm basically doing is having the pixies here and the records just in the back here loaded. So at the end of the day, to anyone that's flipping through your collection saying, well, this is a bit of a howdy-do, I can't read the back of it, it only takes a moment to slide the record out, and then you can see the back of it quite nicely. But it's a nice way when you just want to get your music out and have a bit of a play. Magnificent stuff, clean and simple. Really happy with the process at the moment, and I'll have some videos coming up shortly of listening to the music on the hi-fi. Having a new cabinet built at the moment and looking forward to having that soon. I will do another video just regarding these bigger records that don't fit into your typical plastic sleeve. Now these plastic sleeves, of course, do hold your double album quite nicely, but we're going to get into a bit of a pickle. I was just thinking about it before. I've got the Pink Floyd Pulse, which is quite a juicy one there, and likewise it got me thinking about Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Of course, that's sprawled across several discs, and vice versa with some of the more collectible types of, not collectible, but vintage types of records. I was thinking particularly here with Elvis. Obviously, we've got several records in there, so I'm not sure how they're going to be stored yet, but that's a video for another day.